Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Somers Town Board regular meeting for Thursday, June 13th, 2024, starting here at 7:07. Before we start, can we please have everybody rise for the Pledge of Allegiance?
Do we have a veteran?
Do you have any veterans out there that kind of want to lead us?
If you want to come up.
Come on up.
Lead us in the pledge.
Want to lead us in the pledge?
There.
There you go.
They say never raise your hand, but.
Yeah, there you go.
Thank you for raising your hand.
What's your name, sir?
Name's Dwayne Martin.
Dwayne, thank you very much.
Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good job, Dwayne.
Thank you.
Thanks, Dwayne.
Thanks for your service.
Thanks, Dwayne.
Silence my phone. All right, Patty, can we start with roll call, please?
Yes. Councilman William G. Faulkner.
Here.
Councilman Richard G. Clinchey.
Here.
Councilman Anthony J. Sirica.
Here.
Councilman Thomas A. Garrity Jr.
Here.
Rob Scarano.
Here. All right, we're going to move right into our public hearing. I'd like to make the motion to open up number one of our public hearing.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Patty, can we please have publishing and posting?
That was published in the Journal News on June 4th and posted on the bulletin board.
Thank you so much. Number one is proposed local law to amend chapter 98 entitled Fire Prevention, renumbering 98-7 entitled Penalties of Offenses, 9811 entitled Penalties of Offenses and Reserves, 98-8, 98-9, 98-10, and amending the following 98-7 entitled Pump House Signage to read requiring areas with community water supply systems to clearly display in a weatherproofed enclosure the current water company name, 24-hour contact information on the pump house of the code of the town of Somers. Anybody here that would like to comment on that? Okay. Anybody here? Anything to say? Nope.
No.
Straightforward.
Then we move forward.
All right, I'll make a motion to close out public hearing number one.
Second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
So moved. I'd like to make the motion to adopt the local law.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So moved. Okay, on to number two. Proposed local law to amend chapter 170 entitled zoning, 170-70 entitled accessory apartments, 170-70E of the code of the town of Somers. I'd like to make a motion to open.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So moved. Patty, publishing and postings, please.
That was published in the Journal News on June 4th and posted on the town clerk's bulletin.
Yep. We're gonna do that right now, Tommy.
Yeah.
Besides the one comment, anybody else to comment on that? Nope. All right. I also like to make a motion here to adjourn that to a later date.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So moved.
Did we adopt number one?
We did adopt number one, yes.
Okay, good.
We're pretty quick.
Proficient.
All right, that brings us to public comment. I'd like to make a motion to open up public comment.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So moved. If anybody's here for public comment, please step up to the podium, give us your name and what you'd like to talk about, and please keep it to no more than 3 minutes. All righty.
Good evening, Somers Town Board. My name is Regina Presley, and I'm a resident of Yorktown Heights, and I drink your water here in the Amawalk Reservoir. And my husband and I, husband sitting here, happened to see the article in the Examiner News back in December called The Conservation Crisis. And it hit our radar screen because we had been having issues with our own water in the house. It wasn't tasting good. There was a lot of chlorine smell to it, and it was very hard. So we called the Yorktown Water Department and asked them to please come to the house and test our water. Long story short, the water was not meeting the acceptable standards. So we had to invest in a water filtration system. We did have another one. So when we read the article that exposed so much about contaminants in the water, it alarmed us. And I said to my husband, we need to write an article about this and bring it to other people's attention. We're both healthcare professionals, retired now, But I will read the article to you and I'll do it as quickly as possible. The recent Stones Throw investigative report on the long complex history of Granite Point, the forested promontory of 28.8 acres. So here's the insert that was in the Examiner News. Says the fact that approximately 35,000 Yorktown residents and 2,500 Somers residents depend on and pay for Amawak's municipal water to be delivered to our homes should have residents up in arms about what is going on within the Somers border. On this beautiful land that juts into and buffers our primary local drinking water supply, we assume that the filtration plants are taking all of the contaminants out, but they're just meeting the EPA standards. We know from science that the EPA standards are usually not what we expect. They're much lower than what they should be. And here's the deal, removing all the trees around the reservoir, also a gardener and a beekeeper. And I know a lot about the soil and what goes on in nature. And what's happening is the soil helps improve our water. It takes contaminants out of the pollution that's coming through, air pollution. Tomorrow's an air quality alert day. Look at what's happening in Florida right now. This is all real. And to come in, I mean, it just astounds me that we could destroy a forest on a municipal water supply because the levels of contaminants are off the charts. The sodium, just 10 years ago, the value was like 38 points. That's per milligrams per liter. The latest Yorktown water chart shows it at 68%. That's a 106% increase. Sodium. We could go on and on. Statistics matter. So what we're trying to say here is think of the people. And not only that, think of the creatures that help our land here, whether it's worms in the soil or microbes. It's important. And not only that, what about the future generations? Will they look back at this point in time and say, you made the wrong decision? Once it's done, it's done. And even where I live over in Yorktown, once the housing development enters, we have more runoff going into the streams and creeks. We have more flooding issues. And guess what's more money? The roads wash out. I could go on and on. So the whole point is that our Yorktown's drinking water supply, Phillips Granite Point, must not be turned into leaching grounds for contaminants. You know, once the houses go in, they're going to start with spraying. Oh, there's more mosquitoes, ticks. Then we have to have the perfect lawn. And there's, yeah.
Yeah, we need to wrap it up.
Okay.
It's well over 3.
And let me introduce Doug Abdelnour, and he will be the next speaker. Here are copies of the article. And
Well-oiled machine.
that's
who it was.
We try to let everybody speak. We don't care where you're from. But we do try to keep it to 3 or 4 minutes. We have people on the agenda who are here waiting to speak, and we keep public comment at the beginning of the meeting.
I'll try to be brief. My name is Doug Abdelnour. I live in Somers about 35 years. Some of you know me. Not used to coming here for this, but this has come to my attention. Thought I'd help him get some of these points across. So it's my understanding that at the September 7th, 2023 meeting, work session here, resolution was adopted committing to protect at least 30% of the ecologically important lands and waters within Somers by 2030. You call this your 30 by 30 resolution. Now, how does this resolution to protect at least 30% of ecologically significant lands and waters fit within 29-acre forested promontory on Amawalk Reservoir, known as the Granite Point Housing Development? Do you not think that rescuing from development the Granite Point site needs to be the most pressing and immediate environmental concern and priority? After the full approval, previous planning board appointees acting under alleged multi-layered conflicts of interest and in total breach of their duty and of the town code granted and re-granted to the local landowner developer to liquidate and monetize forests and land on this water supply area for private profit at vast and permanent public cost. Should not Granite Point Rescue and Conservation be at the front for this board's 30 by 30 resolution to protect at least 30% of the town ecologically significant land and water bodies this decade? If you are excluding Granite Point from your 30 by 30 resolution, you must tell the New York State public why you are intentionally choosing and failing to rescue and conserve the most ecologically significant and only New York State and Westchester County designated critical environmental area that regrettably lies within Somers border. That's it. I'd like to introduce Diane Hauslinger to continue the.
Have a whole, yeah, exactly. You know, that.
Oh, it's-
Hi, I'm also here about Granite Point.
Okay.
oh,
I'm very concerned about the environmental impact. Not only to the people drinking the water, but even the people that are supposedly would be moving in, because
Can we get your name and address and please?
Yeah.
speak into the-
I live in Somers, I live in Granite Springs, I live actually not far from, I live across the Amawalk Reservoir.
Your name.
Bring that,
Houselanger, Houselanger.
just bring that microphone a little closer to you. That's it.
Okay, anyway, at the October 12th, 23 meeting, you discussed the North Edge Realty as a development project in which town board assigned yourselves as the in the lead agency role. And what is it about the North Edge Realty development site that prompts the town board to declare itself as the lead agency? Why didn't your predecessors declare the town board as the lead agency on Granite Point, particularly critical for its widespread impacts on the environment and the drinking water supply across town borders? Is the North Edge Realty a forested panoramic promontory, a greenway corridor, a bald eagle habitat, a major public scenic resource, or most importantly, water supply? If the answer to any of these is no, then the public demands to know why you declared the town board to be the lead agency for Edge Realty and other land conservation applications to this town, while you remain silent on the people's exhaustive demands over the years and decades, urging you to assume the lead agency role for Granite Point forested area on the Amawalk Reservoir to rescue this environmentally and drinking water critical site from environmental death, and to protect and preserve it as an open space in perpetuity for environmental and drinking water protection. This inaction and double standard will not be tolerated, and the town's governing board cannot continue to look the other way as public assets are being desecrated. The Granite Point Housing Subdivision on the Amawalk Reservoir is dangerous to public health, and the Somers Town Board and Town Attorney must act responsibly and immediately to do the right thing. And just want to say that of all the terrible things that are happening to the environment in this world, this is just our little local abomination that we can all be ashamed of. And I'm really sorry that this is even happening. I can't believe they reservoir with runoff fertilizers and people are drinking that water, as you see, and they gave the people in Shenorock a choice if they wanted to use the reservoir for drinking water, and a lot of them said yes, and not knowing any of this. I just think that a lot of people are unaware, and it's going to be very bad for a lot of health. The next speaker is Hogan.
Thank you so much. I just, before the next speaker comes up, and I can see you guys are well prepared and you have your,
We wrote
Okay.
down what we were going to say.
no, great. I think it's great. One thing I'd just like to say to you, and just make it perfectly clear, that none of us on this board were even in elected officials at the time that this was
And that's
presented.
part
And I
of,
think that's important,
I know it keeps getting grandfathered in
right?
past more and more.
But I think it's important to you to know that. So words like double standard, those kind of words that have been said. I think it's important that the public realizes that this is not something that happened overnight with this board. This was before well before our predecessors. I think at the time this even started, I think I might have been 10 years old.
Yeah, I mean. moved
So I just
here in 19
want to make sure that
Going-
that people are aware of that.
Needs to be finished, for everyone's good, except for the money.
Hi, my name is Bruce Hugan. I've been a resident of Summers for 37 years. I'm a professional engineer, P, and have been licensed in 5 states, including New York. The Granite Point development has been an issue for most of my time in Summers. And it was a bad idea then with your predecessors, and it's still a bad idea. And it is my opinion, that any approval by the town for development of the site opens up the actions by the New York City DEP and New York State Department of Environmental Conservation. The final EIS was developed in 1998 and was probably based on the HEC-1 model, a computer model developed by the Hydraulic Engineering Center for the Army Corps of Engineers. Since then, the HEC-1 model has been updated to the Hydraulic Modeling System 8, which is now a HEC HMS model which is more refined and updates to current rainfall data. And preliminary EIS was submitted in 1997. In 1997, the New York City DEP issued rules and regulations for protection from contamination, degradation, and pollution of New York City water supply and its sources. These regulations were amended in 2019. The final subdivision 215 approval appears to be based on the 1997-1998 EIS. It is unknown if the 1997-1998 EIS considered to revise 1997 DEP regulations and surely did not address the amendments that were issued in 2019. Preliminary EIS and to protect the town and any sort of ongoing, I feel it is imperative for the DEP to step in again and to review the development based on the updated regulations and hydraulic model. It is also unknown if a stormwater pollution protection plan, the SWPPP, has been submitted and approved by the DEP. This is especially important since the slope to the reservoir exceeds 15%. And the new regulation, I think, is 15% within 300 feet any development. Upon completion of development, any remediation measures such as detention require maintenance and are susceptible to failure. The New York State Department of Environmental Conservation may also be interested in becoming an involved agency to step in and review the whole process and to review the modeling. And a $3 billion filtration system in Van Cortlandt Park has recently been constructed. And it was completed in 2015 by the DEP. Due to the large cost, the DEP may be more aggressive in protecting their water supply and will no longer allow excessive construction within the watershed, especially adjacent to a reservoir. In conclusion, I request that the town board direct the building department to either issue a stop work order to direct the planning board to rescind or direct the planning board to rescind the approval. To avoid actions against the town, the New York City DEP and New York City State DEC needs to revisit the development plans and to sign off
I'm
on.
going to give you one more minute.
Until then, all work shall be halted. I'm within plenty of time. I should have spoke slower. And I'd like to introduce our veteran, Dwayne Martin, who will, what?
Hi, board. My name is Dwayne Martin. I've been here 54 years. I came back from Vietnam. I enjoyed all the fishing, these reservoirs, and I'm just sad to see what has happened, but I'm going to talk to you a little bit about money. New York State taxpayers are being burdened with up to $12 million of site remuneration for this privately owned Granite Point site. What happened, there was a shooting range there between 1930 and 1960, you probably all know. New York State decided that they'd remunerate it, and it's going to cost at least $12 million if they haven't already paid for it already. But the point is, each one of us it's our own money. I mean, and what's going to happen? New York State taxpayers are being burdened with the cost of cleanup in privately owned site with no reimbursement plan or agreement in place. Ironically and unacceptably, the remedial action project manager has written us off that when the site is rendered fully remediated and clean, it'll be privately given back to this landowner. And to me, it just doesn't smell right. He should at least pay for the enumeration. And he's looking at walking away with $6 to $9 million selling this place. And I mean, these reservoirs are freaking treasure, and it's a shame, that something like this is happening. And Titicus is one of my favorite reservoirs, and I'll be darned if I want to see something done to that place, just like what's going to happen to Granite Point. The Somers Planning Board, Town Board, and other town officials and appointees are complicit. They were complicit. I know you guys weren't even around, but I really hope you'll do something about it. I think it's wrong. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
I'm going to put,
I can't do that. Then I chart.
My glasses.
Okay. My name is Fred Higgum. My wife Linda and I will complete our 46th year living in Somers on Columbus Day this year. I decided to get involved in the fight to save Granite Point after I read Adam Stone's 8-page insert from December 5th to the 11th on 2023 about the conservation crisis we have here in Somers with Granite Point. Somers Town Board, based on what we've heard this evening from our fellow Somers residents, it's time to turn the page. It's time to wipe the slate clean of past mistakes, misdeeds, conflicts of interest that you people had nothing to do with, but it's something that needs to be taken care of. And possible malfeasance from former administrations surrounding the drama of Granite Point. It's time to develop a sound environmental solution for Granite Point that fits our town's current conditions now. Because of global warming, increased rainfall amounts, and more intense storms and rising temperatures. It's time to think creatively and to think and reach outside the box to develop an environmentally sound win-win solution for our town and other interested parties to buy Granite Point and protect this precious piece of property forever. And some of those parties are included are New York State DEC, New York City's DEP, Westchester County, and numerous environmental organizations like the Westchester Land Trust. And now I'm going to put up another poster here for you guys. Picture on the back end, at the end there is at the Amawalk. Somers Town Board members, I have a question for each of you. What will you be remembered for? Did you do the right thing for the common good of your fellow citizens here in Somers, or will you cave in to the bullies of unfettered land development out of fear? A clustered housing development on Granite Point that slopes down to the Amawalk. Really? I can't tell you how many Somers residents have come up to me and asked me, what's going on the west end of the Amawalk? A lot of my fellow residents, they can't believe it when I tell them that there's going to be a possible housing development at Granite Point. It doesn't make sense. In the future, every time a resident of Somers, Yorktown, or Westchester drives along Route 202 or 118 near the Amawalk, they will see what happened to the Amawalk. Will it be McMansions spreading pollution down to the Amawalk Reservoir, or seeing the promontory known as Granite Point being fully restored to its former glory as a precious piece, 28.8 acres protected forever? What will your children and grandchildren and the students in the Somers school system remember about you and how you acted in a time of environmental crisis? I'm going to quote Chief Seattle from the Pacific Northwest, where I spent 2 years in the Army. We do not, and this is what he said a long time ago, we do not inherit the earth from our ancestors. And I will add to that, not even here in Somers, we borrow it from our children. So it's time to stop this, and there's got to be a solution. And it's just not up to the planning board. It's up to the town government, and it's up to the people in the town of Somers to stop this before it gets out of the barn here. It'll be too late. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Anybody who wants to
The gentleman?
Does anybody have the
Yeah.
talk about the same topic?
come up? Or you want to keep them all together?
Yeah, I'm trying to,
Anybody about the?
anybody else about that? So before we jump to a different topic?
Anybody else about Granite Point?
No?
There you go.
Nobody else wants to speak?
Thank you.
Point.
No, I was going to change the topic. I hope you don't mind. Name is Alan Tepper. I'm 714 Heritage Hills. I am the president of Condo 29. I note on your agenda there's an item about rescinding the approval for the stop signs, which you graciously approved for us back in November. And I'm just wondering, why is this coming up now? It's 7 months after you took your action and approved the stop signs. Why are we revisiting it now?
Well, we'll talk about that when we get to the agenda item.
Yeah.
This is only for
But-
non-agenda items, public.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
I'm
Sorry.
Yeah,
Thank
that's
No
coming.
worries.
Anybody else?
Okay.
On anything,
Anything?
before we shut it down.
It's sign day.
Yeah, it seems to.
Bring, bring it on up.
I'm not keeping track of these, so you guys. Somebody else can keep track of this stuff. I don't want to shut them down.
Forward.
Yeah, you're back.
We've been in Carmel. It's been very busy. Bouncing back and forth between the town board meetings and the planning board meetings. But first off, Noelle Moriello, I am a lifetime resident of Somers, New York. We live on 17 Lounsbury Drive. I appreciate the time and attention that people have given to Granite Point. And now if you move a little further on down 118, I'd like to continue to voice some concerns about another area project. So good evening, town board members and Supervisor Scrano. Thank you for your continued support as we work to combat the installation of a 116 megawatt lithium ion battery storage facility on 24 Miller Road in Carmel that borders Somers, New York. Its size and scope as one of the largest proposed in New York State is reckless and irresponsible, given its location so close to residents, schools, and commercial centers. I just really want to notify Somers residents that this Wednesday, June 19th at 7 p.m., we will finally have an opportunity to voice our concerns about this dangerous project. Carmel Town Board is hosting a public hearing to consider a 6-month moratorium, and all area residents impacted by this project have the chance to speak. Somers residents will be impacted, and therefore we have the right to speak. Please, if you care about the air we breathe, the water we drink, the homes we live in, the businesses we frequent, attend the public hearing, speak out against this dangerous precedent, not just project, but precedent. Again, that's Wednesday, June 19th, 7 PM, Carmel Town Hall. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Anybody else?
Paul Harold, 7 Cornelius Lane. I've lived in Somers for 64 years. I don't know anybody here that'll beat me except for maybe Arnie. I think he 72. All right, he's been around a while too. I'm just came up to thank you, all of yous, that for the support that you have given us. And I don't know if you're allowed to do this. We'd like to invite you to come on up to Carmel with us. And I don't know the politics of that, but you boy, backed us and supported us so far. I mean, it'd be nice to have you around. That's about it.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Scott Moriello, 17 Lounsbury Drive. Thanks for your time. Just want to say a couple things real quick. First off, I wanted to thank you all for your continued attention to the unfortunate circumstances in Carmel. We appreciate the public and private statements and conversations you have been having with public officials and community members. As you know, the fight has really just begun. We are pleased that the town of Carmel is considering a moratorium, but 6 months is way too short because government and democracy takes time. 1 year would have been preferred. Instead, this moratorium allows board members in Carmel to face elections in November while the moratorium is still in place. I hope that the town of Carmel creates a task force made up of community members that are most impacted by any potential energy storage facility coming into their town. If not, we are gravely concerned that the master plan will not prevent these large-scale energy storage systems from endangering both of our communities. We are looking forward to tonight's agenda item related to Somers looking into securing an attorney to protect the town related to this project in Carmel. As you know, we are battling Equinor, East Point Energy, NYSEG, the state, wealthy and influential landowners in Mayapack. We need the help, all the help we can get. Speaking of help, you all have an open invitation, as Mr. Howard already said, to the public hearing next week, June 19th. Any rallies that we have, our gatherings, as we call them, that we hold, and we would love your support by purchasing a sign for your yards. We hope to see every house in Mayapack and Somers have these signs by the time we are done, and Equinor or East Point has withdrawn their project from the Carmel Planning Board. We plan on making a video soon with pictures of every single sign in Somers and Mayapack to put on Facebook. If anyone's interested in purchasing one, they cost $10, and I'll have them at the end of the meeting. So thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Good evening, Roland Sear from 9 Lounsbury Drive. I'd like to say the same thing my neighbors have said. Thank you very much for stepping up to the plate, because we're going to need, as they said, every bit of help we can get. We're fighting a huge corporation that's not based in this country. It ultimately goes back on foreign soil, and the base, the company that's putting this thing forth is from Virginia. As far as what I just heard from the folks on the Amawalk Reservoir, very concerning. But as that sign was saying, you should join us and get in our bandwagon also, because if this thing goes off, and by that I mean we have a runaway fire and they put it out with water, all that water that runs off one side to the Plum Brook into the Muscoot, the other side will go down through Lake Shenorock into the Amawalk Reservoir. You will have lithium ion runoff going into the reservoir. I, for one, am very particular or very concerned about drinking contaminated water. I drank the water in Camp Lejeune back in 1970. Friend of mine is dead today directly from that water. I'm very fortunate. I'm okay. My water is great up on my property and I don't want it to change. With these fires, it's not a question of when it's going to happen, or not a question of if, it's just a matter of when it's going to happen. We know that 160 megawatts, something will go off. Beyond that, I would bring your attention to the YouTube video that's going around right now about the 2 cars up in Canada. And if you haven't seen it, it looks like incendiary bombs going off as the cars continue to explode as each cell is blowing up inside of it. The firefighters absolutely refuse to get anywhere near it. And when we speak about our fire department, great guys, we had a fire up in the preserves maybe 3 weeks ago, and a Kindle went up. Kindle's not too big. They couldn't fight the fire. They called in hazmat from Westchester County. They had to come up and remove this particular device. So a Kindle is small. Can you imagine 12 acres or 10 acres of these batteries in our backyards? So I leave you with that, and I thank you again for stepping up to the plate. You guys are really appreciated by us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Tom. Anybody else?
Okay.
Okay. So if nobody else here, I'd like to make a motion to close up comment.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So moved. Patty, let's go right to yeah,
I think most of them are going to stay for the.
I don't know. Yeah, go. Party good. Department reports?
I have reports from the town clerk, building inspector, zoning board of appeals, plumbing, Bureau of Fire Prevention, Parks and Recreation, planning and engineering, tax receiver, and director of finance.
Okay, thank you. In light of some of the public comment that we have, and we're people referenced number 5 on our agenda here of the town board. I'm going to move number 5 up to the top here before I give the town of Somers update. And that is number 5 is the legal services proposal, Carmel lithium ion battery farm discussion. And this is to retain Abrams and Festerman LLP. They'll represent the town of Somers with respect to the site plan approval process presently being undertaken by the town of Carmel Planning Board with respect to the lithium battery farm proposed to be developed in the town of Carmel directly on the Somers border. We've heard what everybody said. We've said we were going to go out and get special counsel as well to help guide us in this process if we do need them. I believe everybody on the town board is for this, but I'm going to make the motion to retain Abrams and Festerman LLP.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So moved.
Cheers.
I'm amazed Tracy didn't speak.
Might be the first time ever.
The way she-
Probably the last, but
I was getting nervous.
gonna move right along here. Let's see, if I got some of the information here.
Might take 2 minutes now since they're leaving.
Yeah, well, actually, I'll take 2 minutes if everybody's leaving here. Yeah.
We're done?
I'll talk. Bye.
See you guys. It was. All right, we'll pick it back up here. That was. Okay. So go right now to the town board to give a town board update. And we found out this information this morning. Some sad news. Deep regrets towards the police department. That one of our members, retired police officer Thomas J. Dunn, was killed earlier this morning in an accident in East Fishkill. He retired in August 31st of 2021 after 20 years in service in Somers, and after previously his service was with the NYPD. So our hearts go out to his family, our condolences to everybody who knew him. And, it's always sad to hear something like that happen here in the town, especially when we consider, a lot of Somers members' family. And he was family to all of us. So we're sad of the news here. On a lighter note, the gutters were clean here today. With just to give some information, the town hall, they were clean. We're getting use out of the bucket truck. So so we're happy about that, and have Arnie Gio here from Somers Historical Society to give us a little update on the Ford Model T.
Doug?
Yeah, just send me an email. Yes.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you very much for letting me talk about the Model T. For the ones that do not know me, my name is Arnold Guillard. I live in Somers. I work for the town of Somers for the highway department. I worked there for 27 years as a truck mechanic and working on all sorts of equipment. Excuse me. Roughly about 10 years ago, I got involved with the Somers Historical Society, and I'm a trustee. With that being said, with my background, I was asked to get involved in getting the Model T up and about. Well, roughly about that time, a gentleman, a Max Carone, he was 17 years old, and he was looking for an Eagle Scout project. And I took him under my wing. And at the same time, when Max got involved, he went to a Model A meeting in Katona. And he met this gentleman named Tom Leonard. Tom Leonard was in Croton Falls. And I'm glad he did, because with all my background knowledge as being a mechanic, I learned a lot from Tom. And Tom took the time every weekend when we were working on the Model T for Max Carone's Eagle Scout project. I learned a lot from that man. But enough said about Tom and Max for the time being. Now, how we acquired the Model T. Back in '68, the Reese family donated the land and all the artifacts at the homestead. And that's how we acquired the Model T, because a lot of people do not know how we acquired the Model T. So with that part, okay, when I got involved with the T, the car sat for over 20 years. I do know that it was out and about prior for a short period of time. And when I got involved with it, like I said, it sat there for 20 years. Now, what we did, Max, for his project, Eagle Scout project, we made the car roadworthy. He raised a substantial amount of money where every bit of it went into the county. The reason why I'm bringing it up, because a lot of people do not know of the progress, how this car came about what it is today. We took care of the front end, took care of a lot of loose parts to make it safe, roadworthy, for past the New York State inspection. Now, I will say that right before Memorial Day, when this car was going to have its debut, the rear differential let loose. And Max, who has put a lot of time and effort into this car, he was extremely upset. And Tom Leonard, as I mentioned before, came to the rescue. He lent us a rear differential until we got the old differential of the Model T rebuilt. And now that rear is back in, and Tom's rear differential is back home. Max and his mother spent, I don't know, about 4 or 5 hours cleaning the car. And I have some pictures which I do not have in front of me now to present to the board or to show to the general public. But one picture I have is oh God, I'm pulling a blank, of Max and his mother under the car with the Wizard of Oz, with the the house landing on the Wicked Witch. You know, I found that totally hilarious. But anyway,
Ruby slipper.
now with the remainder of the money that Max raised after his project was done, there was still additional work done to the car. We spent the money on new wood and spoke wheels, new tires, all right, paint. We sanded the running boards down, painted them to make it more, to eliminate the rust. Now, this past August, we went out to bid to have the engine built because it was smoking. And I'm the sole driver of the car. And when we do a parade or event, when it's at idle, it smokes a lot. So we were granted to go out to bid, and a gentleman named Adam from A&H Restorations up in North Brookfield, Massachusetts, he was awarded to rebuild the engine, and he's 3 hours away. Now, again, with my knowledge, well, again, there's more to rebuilding the engine because the transmission comes out along with it. It's one unit, it's not two separate units. And in the process of taking stuff apart, well, there was a lot of parts in the transmission that were worn out. So the price for rebuilding the engine and the transmission is all incorporated. And I was hoping to have the car back for Memorial Day. Unfortunately, parts were not available. The machining has taken longer than expected. So we talked and we're hoping to have it for 4th of July. Well, this past week, unfortunately, I've told Adam, do not rush because it's getting down to the wire for 4th of July. As I mentioned to him, as long as I have it for Veterans Day, I'd rather take the time to do it right, which he is doing. I have plenty of pictures. He and I have been in communication, showing me pictures of what has been done and why. The engine's been bored out, 30,000's over. I don't expect anyone to understand all this, but it's a lot of work, more work than I anticipated or even knew what had to be done to preserve this car.
Are we still in budget?
Yes, we're definitely in budget.
Got it.
Okay. Now, Adam did come down this past December 4th. So that's why I was hoping to have it done for Memorial Day, but unfortunately it did not. So again, I spoke about the transmission. We're doing updates on everything. And you know, when it's together, the car should be maintenance free with the exception of changing the oil. Okay. So really, that's about all I have to say, unless you gentlemen have anything to talk about, other than I have spent a lot of time. A lot of people have asked me, oh, where's the car? The car is back at the homestead. They thought that Adam was going to pull the engine. No, the price quote was for rebuilding the engine. You're looking at the person who pulled the engine and is going to be putting it back together again. And I don't want to rush to put it back together again hastily, which I will not do. So if any board members have any questions, feel free to ask. If I can answer them, I'd be more than happy to answer.
Well, listen, Arnie, I can say this, man. There's no one more that I trust with the Model T than you.
Thank you.
And what you do on the care that you take for the car and the pride that you have for it. Like I said, I couldn't ask for a better person to be in the hands of this relic. And
thank you.
You know, so
He didn't call it a relic. He said the car.
I know. I was going to say something, but no.
That I'll take offline if I.
No, we all appreciate this, this work. It's, I think it's going to be next to the elephant out there. It'll last as long as the bronze elephant.
Oh, yeah. Now, I will say that I do have several people interested in learning how to drive the car. I know Rob and we have spoke about the stipulations of what they have to do, so forth, so on. But unfortunately, at this present time, there's not a car to learn to drive.
One step at a time. Did anybody ask you to put a electric motor in it yet?
No. No, but I will say some of the engine components are definitely upgraded. okay, which I feel is a necessity thing to do at this present time for next generations.
Is that going to help with the starting of it? The crank?
The answer is absolutely yes, because what has happened is this, in the process of taking stuff apart, which I have pictures of, there you have a flywheel. And the flywheel were missing some magnets on the very, very back because how the car runs, it runs off a magneto. And you need a magnet with electrical coils. And if some of the magnets are missing, it's going to be very, very hard to start because you're not getting the continuity of electricity for the coils to start the car. So yes, it will be definitely easier to start.
Got it.
Arnie, do you have any idea? I happen to be at a Classic Car Club of America event out in New Jersey. And so there's a lot of these old cars. And I was just wondering, how much is it worth, the Model T?
Okay.
If one of those people, obviously.
To answer your question,
if they come up, how much money would they have to give us?
if we want to try to sell that car today, we're talking an easy 25,000.
Oh, I would have thought more.
Oh, more.
No, the reason why Henry Ford built millions of Model Ts and it's still a lot of Model
Really?
out there. Yes.
Good.
Yeah, I was at Muscoot last year sometime and they had some and there were multiple Model Ts.
Yeah.
Oh.
There's lots of them out there.
My Hyundai Elantra is about the same as a Model T.
I'm sorry, sir. I didn't quite.
My Hyundai Elantra is
Oh, yes.
the same as a
Yes.
Model T.
Yeah.
And it runs about the same too.
Well, I don't know, because listen, with the fuel economy, maybe it does do better.
Yeah, it does well.
All right.
But I will say, I'm honored to work on this car. I'm honored that at this present time, that I can drive the car. And I definitely want to pass that legacy over to someone who can drive the car, promote the car, because it belongs to the town and it belongs to the people of this town. You know, it's not me. I consider it, mine, but it's not. I realize that. But at this present time, it's an honor to work on this car and to preserve the history of the Reese homestead.
Thanks for doing it.
Thanks, Arnie.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you, Arnie.
All right, thank you very much. Enjoy, gentlemen.
Thanks.
All right. Let's move on to number 3. Bureau of Fire Prevention suggestions. Open up here. And who's going to speak on that? Anybody want to come up? Rob?
Rob, you're voluntold, Rob.
First, Rob, we can talk about let's talk about the horn strobes for the commercial buildings.
So this is something that's actually not currently covered in the New York State Fire. The code does require horn strobes, but they're referred to as an occupant notification system.
Rob, does the thing go with
Yes.
light? Okay, just so I.
There's another thing that kind of goes gong, gong, gong. We'll get to that one in a second.
Okay.
But if buildings have sprinkler systems and they're required to have a water gong on the outside or an audible notification, and it's actually a bell. It's a mechanical bell that's activated by the flowing of the water. And a sprinkler system is required to activate the alarm system of a building, and it will activate the horn strobes, but they're on the inside of the building because they're considered an occupant notification device. So in my other life working for the county, we do fire inspections on county properties. And one of the things they adopted years ago is that if you have a property that has multiple buildings, each building has a horn strobe placed on the exterior of the building. So if we could use Playland, for example, at the moment, if you could picture that plaza in your head, as a firefighter, 2 o'clock in the morning, you come in there, the alarm's going off and you're going, which building is it? The horn strobe on the outside of the building helps you quickly identify where you need to go. And this is important, not even in like big complexes like that, but even smaller business structures, because as we all know, the occupant or the tenant or the building owner is supposed to update the alarm company, update who the tenants are and the building names and shop names within it. But that doesn't always happen. 80 Route 6, for example, like the occupants may change multiple times and they maybe don't update it from Home Goods to Tractor Supply. So the alarm may go out, alarm 80 Route 6 at Home Goods, and you then have a mutual aid company coming in. They're looking for a Home Goods that isn't there because now it's Tractor Supply. And, you know, that also works the other way because we all know the old Pinocchios, and that's, I think for most of us, if I say the old Pinocchios, you know where I'm talking about, or the old golden nugget, right? You know exactly where I'm talking about, even though it's not there anymore. It does go both ways, but the horn strobe on the exterior of the building definitely helps when you're trying to locate an emergency, especially an alarm, right? Like a fire, you can see pretty easily, but if it's just smoke inside the building, a problem, instead of having to waste time looking for, you know, an alarm address that may not be accurate anymore. It just makes it much quicker. It's like I said, it's a practice the county adopted years ago internally, and I think it's wise. I think it helps. It's a very minimal or nominal fee to actually put a horn strobe on the outside of the building. You know, for the most part, on the inside of the building, they're located on an exterior wall, and it's just a matter of daisy chaining into it. I don't think it would be, you know, a burden on any of the business owners, and it would help definitely protect their property and speed up a response to it.
So that was my question. Is the cost burdensome? But you say no.
I mean, it's one additional device, and normally it's daisy chained right into something on the other side of the wall. So you're not typically talking about opening walls, running wires. It's drill a hole and tap into it. You know,
Other towns have adopted this?
not that I'm aware of.
It seems like a no-brainer as you describe it.
I think so. You know, lots of times it's just enough to keep up with the code that's currently adopted by the state. And as you've seen from things we've adopted in the past, sometimes we tend to be a little more progressive than the state is. You know, like I said, I've been in the fire department 25 years. I've been working for you guys for a while. I've always seen horn strobes on some buildings here and there, but it never dawned on me that it wasn't in the code until, you know, just recently when I learned it was just a practice that the county used and not something that was, again, you know, required by the code. And I think it makes sense. It helps keep everybody safe.
In your experience as a firefighter, have you been at a place where you saw this in action and you go, oh, thank goodness they got that. We know where to go. Has it ever triggered that? I'm not saying that's the reason not to do it. I'm just wondering how it worked.
It is, I have seen it, but I don't think I realized that it wasn't a requirement at the time. So you didn't even think about it, but you know, you show up and there's the strobe going off and, you know, the alarm sounding and
Seen it.
right. Yes.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Are there any provisions for anything like distances to residences? So if this is for commercial buildings, you know, is there any sort of setback that they wouldn't be as needed if they were close to or right next door to a neighborhood, potential neighborhood? Because I would imagine there's going to be your occasional false alarm with something like this. And how big a disruption might that be to quiet and joy neighborhood?
Typically, there's not. There are requirements in the code that they meet certain sound decibel levels and are, I think, 15 decibels above the ambient noise level for the building. But again, that code is speaking about more horn strobes on the interior of the building. But there definitely is a mechanism in the code for the Bureau of Fire Prevention, amongst others, to fine companies that have multiple false alarms that don't address the problems or get the systems rectified. So there is a mechanism in there to deal with that I think, you know, the occasional false alarm going off would not outweigh the benefit of doing this. I don't think there's anything in the code regarding, I'm going to say burglar alarms, intrusion devices in your homes, you know, that go off, or your car alarms in your driveway. You know, I think the safety aspect of it outweighs, you know, the problem of false alarms. And again, they have a mechanism in the code to deal with repeat offenders who don't service their systems.
Yeah, great. Anybody else? Questions on the horn strobes?
Nope.
Rob, what we got you there? Lettering of the commercial buildings.
So lettering of the commercial buildings, and I apologize, Chief Greg Lucic from the fire department couldn't make it this evening, but this came up in particular out of a discussion we were having about the Muscoot property. As you know, that's one address with multiple buildings. You have the garage, you have the old bait and tackle shop, another build, and then the restaurant itself. And trying to figure out ways to avoid confusion and get somebody to the right place quickly. We had discussed lettering the buildings on the property. We didn't want to go into adding additional digits to an address because that's confusing. We simply said, you know, hey, if we came up with an ABCD, which is a common practice in a lot of commercial plazas, I think 80 Route 6 in particular has lettered buildings in the property. So we said, let's keep it standardized to that and let's request it. But this way, again, very similar to the common street names on the private driveways serving 3 more houses so that you can find the correct house if, is the case on that property.
You mentioned up there at Baldwin Place. I'm just thinking, I go through there often. I don't see any letters on any building. Are they supposed to be visible?
I think they are there. I do recall seeing them. I don't remember if they're on the back side of building where typically the sprinkler rooms and mechanical rooms are, because that's where the fire department would go in. Because the panels are tied into the building, they're not tied into the.
Are they supposed to be visible though?
Um,
I mean, if you're going to use it, one would think.
they wouldn't need to be because they're not required by code. State code or even our code. So it would be one of those things where it's on the site plan for the property and it would be in the fire department's emergency response guide or pre-plans for the property that.
But if we do this, then it would be.
Yes, we're requesting in the code that we're asking.
Oh, okay.
to adopt is that,
Guess that's-
yes, they be
yes.
visible and they meet the same
Okay.
letter, height and characteristics as the 911 numbering system that's currently in place.
Okay, good.
57 Route 6 has.
Okay.
So if the planning board imposed that, is
We-
building to have numerical address.
Right, we may have requested that through the, when this plan came to the Bureau for review, we would have requested that and a lot of the things we've asked you to adopt, we have been requesting of contractors who have very graciously agreed because they recognize the safety benefit. And now the reason why most of this is coming to you is that we want to just have it memorialized in the code so that as, people change over time, it doesn't get lost in the shuffle.
Sounds sensible. Does this conflict with any state law, other county law?
No.
None of this stuff is all local.
Yeah, and we're not asking them to change their addresses or anything. It's just, on the property, say building A, B, C, D. And if they have an alarm system, it would be alarmed as, 105 Route 100, building A, building B, as opposed to the way it may be done now, which would say old bait and tackle shop or garage or, the name of Muscoot hasn't changed in forever, but it could have been Joe's Diner 5 years ago. And
Would we be
it make-
specifying a location for the lettering?
No, the intent was to follow the same guidance that they provide for the 911 numbers, that it's contrasting to the background, it's visible, it's 4 inches and viewable from the road.
So it has to be in the front of the building. Okay,
Good.
good, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Let's move on to number 4. Recommendation to increase fees of municipal searches and building department letter requests from the building department. Who would like to come up here and discuss? Tommy?
Hello, Tom Tuma, Building Inspector, Somers. I'm going to invite Mary Ann up here. This was her invention to better explain the history and the reasons for wanting to make this adjustment. And here.
Hi, guys. So basically, I do municipal searches, which is title search companies require this for closing of the houses. It's become bigger than it was years ago. We last found an update that Ephraim asked back in January 29th, 2014, asking for the fee right now for residential is 25, for commercial is 50, and then we charge 25 cents per page for any copies that we make. We'd like to increase that to $50 for residential and 100 for commercial, flat fee. I think we're also proposing to do a $25 fee for any letters that are recommended for signature by Tommy. We get a lot of those recommendations that something's either missing from the file, doesn't close out something.
Requested.
Anything with the town letterhead that they're requesting from us, that's in addition to something that's in the file, we'd like to charge $25 for a letter from the town for that. So I,
Up with some of the fees charged by other towns to title search company.
we're probably way on the lower end, but, and this is what brought this up is,
It should be a number.
I
Yeah.
had somebody that came in a couple of months ago, probably 6 months ago, and she's like, she wrote me a check for $100 and I'm like, you know, we only charge 25. I said, why are you giving me a check for $100? She goes, all the other towns are at least $100. Some are 200.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, we're doing something wrong. We're doing a lot. I mean, I probably average about 10 to 15 hours a week just at the copier making copies for people. So it's a huge task. You know, going through the files and just trying to get people what they're looking for. And then generally, a lot of questions come up after that, that still involve a lot of research to get the title company satisfied with what they're doing.
So I'm good with the 50 and the 100. Just explain the letter to me again.
Yes.
How many letters
Yeah.
are there?
Let-
Like, would there be one request for a letter?
Yeah,
A lot of times during the course of this request for information, the title companies question whether a particular item is covered under a CO.
Okay.
And then for a closing, they want it in writing.
You-
I will. So now we're pulling a file and we're reviewing plans to see if a particular item is covered under a CO. And then they want it, you know, they want a letter verifying that for the attorneys at the
perfect example is
closings.
a deck.
Okay.
People want to know were decks included in the original construction of a house? So we have to look at the plans and we have to review and see if there's any decks that were included, and if not, then that brings up a whole new other set of things. But
So if an application comes in like this, or if you have to do it, could somebody possibly need 3 or 4 letters, or would you combine it in one?
Well, sometimes we'll try and combine it into one, but then usually other things come out of another meeting between the purchasers and sellers for clarification.
Okay, that's fine. I just wanted to get a
Yeah,
little.
sometimes it's a couple different letters.
but I think it would
It's a
probably
practice.
average about one letter.
Yeah.
You know, it's not going to be an exorbitant amount of letters. I think there's probably one main letter that would.
I mean, they-
You're-
would they blanch it that, the other one, 25 to 50, 50 to 100, if I'm someone coming in? Oh, okay, that sounds pretty good. 25, to write a letter on a town? It seems like a lot to me.
There's some time that has to be invested into researching the file to verify the information that they're asking for.
And they is the title company in this case?
Yeah, and who else would ask us for letters?
Real
We've
estate
had-
agent.
Real estate
we've
agent.
had-
Estate agent
Sure.
Yeah.
call and question, hey, was this included? If it's not, can you give a letter? You
But
know,
what
so-
seems nice about this, and correct me if I'm wrong, is that, you know, the title company pays this. And the title company ultimately charges the real estate buyer or
Correct.
seller.
Right.
But they charge them generally a flat fee of $2,000. So whether they get a profit margin of an extra $50 because we're being too generous, or they don't get that, seems like a nice win-win.
Right, I mean, I would send out a letter immediately to all my main contacts for the municipal searches and tell them what we were proposing on doing, giving them a date, I don't need that much. Giving them a date of, you know, when this
TV.
fact,
TV. Your TV needs it.
Yeah, Mike.
Wanted to hear.
and so that would,
I'm good.
I think we're not going above and beyond. I think we're staying with the time. The last time was 2014 that we requested this, so I think we're being fair and we'll.
Do other towns charge for a letter?
I think we found one.
Yeah.
It might have been Yorktown, I think.
I asked really about a letter either, but I think one lady just came out and said, yeah, we also charge for letters. I'm like, oh, okay. So I think there may have been one.
Yeah, I don't want to, the other ones sound reasonable. I don't want to nickel and dime people, it's just we have revenue.
But again, if it's going to the title company,
Well,
not the consumer.
You know,
not the
okay,
rest of
money's money, but I don't know. And then as Tom said, if there's several, it seemed like charge them once, we'll do the letters. You change this, checking the same file. I mean, that's my opinion on it. The other ones sound perfectly reasonable.
When we're looking at other municipal searches here, like other towns, and they're just $100 flat fee or $200 flat fee, is that for both commercial and for
Yes,
residential?
yes.
What do you bring in and how much revenue is? Yeah.
Did have an attachment with that, didn't we, Stephanie? Rob had asked me for that.
There you go.
I want to say, no, that's it. So I think last year, for the whole year, I had a total of $8,800. I did 259 searches, And so far, just through May 7th, I've done 105 searches at $3,400.
So you'll just make it 6,000 then. Doesn't seem, yeah, it's fine. Doesn't seem, it looks like these title search company's gonna absorb this to some extent, right?
They'll bury it. They'll figure it out.
Yeah.
It didn't seem like she was upset when I had mentioned, well, maybe we should look. She's like, yeah, you're charging way lower than any other towns are. So
Okay,
All right.
Great. Thank you.
thank
you're welcome.
Nice job presenting tonight.
Thanks, guys.
Okay, let's move on to number 6. Schedule a public hearing for the proposed local law to rescind Article 7 entitled Heritage Hills, Section 158-23B. Stop intersection located at West Hill for the proposed three-way stop sign at Westwoods Drive and West Hill Drive, and a three-way stop sign at Westwoods Drive and Waterview Drive for July 11th, 2024. And the reason why we're looking to rescind is some light came to us as well, and everybody will have an opportunity to speak at the public comment. But
Public hearing.
public hearing. Thank you for correcting me. The public hearing came to light that that the society at Heritage Hills has the legal authority to ask the town to authorize stop signs within the Heritage Hills community. And we, a little bit before that light came to us, before we made that request for the stop signs, and more light came to us on that. And it, not the condos themselves can request the stop signs, only the society. So this is why we're going to rescind it. And if anybody has comment on that during the public hearing, they can make that as well. And I'm going to make the motion here to schedule the public hearing for the proposed local law to rescind.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So moved.
Does that answer your question, Mr. Tepper?
Thank you.
So Roland, just one, we don't authorize these signs. We just essentially say that, you know, we would enforce, we have the authority to enforce.
Correct.
So this has nothing to do with authorization in a sense. I mean, you could put up a sign there if you want. You guys settle up between it and you want to put in a stop sign
Do it with the
on private property.
understanding is they can do it if the society
If the
authorizes it.
If the society authorizes it, right, it's private property, but something that you guys have to settle. Town's not part of that. And we just put it in our law to maybe strengthen, you know, the legal authority.
But you can enforce it.
Okay.
All right.
All right, let's move on. We have 2 add-ons for this evening. The first add-on here is permission to request to solicit RFP for architect plans to rebuild the yellow barn at Anglefly Preserve. Make it bigger. The work will be done in-house by a community involvement. And we're going to put both of them on the same RFP. And the other one is permission is being requested to solicit RFP for architect's plans to rework the interior of the barn next to the Somers Police Station. The space is empty, and the work space needs to be created, as well as new locker rooms and more meeting space for our town officers. I'd like to make the motion to go for RFP to design the renovation for the barn at Anglefly and the barn at the Somers Police Department.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So moved. Okay, no additional business for Parks and Rec. Financial, no additional business. Highway, no additional business. There are some current vacancies on our boards, Affordable Housing, Planning Board. But I also, on this one, I'd like to acknowledge the hiring of Alan Baronis as Librarian 1 in the Children's Room of the Somers Library, effective May 30th, 2024, with a delayed start date of June 3rd, 2024, when his probationary period starts. We just want to acknowledge that for this evening.
Okay.
And then nothing for planning and engineering. Police, there's no additional business. The consensus agenda, I'll make a motion to approve as presented.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So moved. Calendar coming up events, here. What are we at? Yep, July 11th, we are combining our town board work session and our town board regular meeting. And again, on the August 8th, town board work session and town board regular meeting. Both of those meetings do start at 7 PM. We do have some announcements as well. We have a blood drive here tomorrow, 1:30 to 7:30. Appointments can be made by calling the New York Blood Center at 1-800-933-2566. Remember to eat and drink. Bring your ID. Artist Senior Living of Somers Ice Cream and Insights. That is Monday, June 17th, 1:30 to 2:30. That's on 51 Clayton Boulevard in Yorktown Heights. Assemblyman Matt Slater's Veteran Luncheon. That's Thursday, June 20th, and that is at 11 a.m. Veterans Memorial Park, 201 Gipsy Trail, ROA, Carmel, New York. Westchester Power Information Session, Thursday, June 20th. And Monday, June 17th and Thursday, June 20th, and that's 12 to 7 p.m. And that is learn how Westchester's Power can help you power your home with green energy.
Where is that held?
That is going to be held at, don't have it on here, but it's probably in our packet somewhere. Westchester County residents, I don't have it on here. Unfortunately, I don't know why. You want to look through here? Maybe you can find it. Okay. Town of Somers Independence Day celebration in partnership with the Somers Lions Club and the Somers Chamber of Commerce. That is Wednesday, July 3rd. We're going to have fireworks. We'll have a shuttle bus between Somers High School and Reese Park. We have two bands, the Happy Crabs and the Pork Chop Express. We have the concession stand, fun activities. The Lions Club are going to be doing their famous barbecue, hot dog eating contest. The basketball tournament is happening. Of course, the fireworks are happening at around 10 o'clock. We have a town-sponsored axe throwing event too. We are we're gearing up, folks. But we're also we're looking into having a dunk tank where the supervisor, myself, will jump into the tank. So we're looking at it to doing it for charity. So all proceeds will go to charity. So we have a couple of ideas on who would be the recipient of that. We also have, and that is again Wednesday, July 3rd. Of course, the 4th is July 4th, and everybody's off of work. Somers Golden Sunset Series presented by Somers Parks and Recreation. Times will vary. Entry open to all Somers residents and free of charge. Bring a blanket, lawn chair, and a picnic dinner. Wednesday, July 10th, concert, the Thornwoods. They're a pop and rock cover band. That's at the Reese Park stage, 7 p.m. Saturday, July 11th, Woody Guthrie birthday hootenanny featuring Scott Argola and friends, folk music. That's at 5 p.m. at Mount Zion Church. Wednesday, July 17th, concert, Loose Wheel. They're a country band, Reese Park stage at 7 p.m. And then Wednesday, July 31st, concert, Red, White, and Bruise, rock, country, and reggae, 7 p.m. at the Reese Park stage. Somers Senior Programs, Memorial Day trip to the City Island Nautical Museum for a private tour, followed by a lunch at the famous original Crab Shanty. That is going to be Tuesday, July 16th. And the bus will depart from Van Tassel at 9:30 a.m. and return at 2:30. If you need any more information, you can reach out to the office, or you can please reach out to Princess Guerrera over at Van Tassel and 914-232-0807. That is all I have for this evening.
Two quick things, Rob.
Sure.
As of midnight tonight, Somers will have one more registered voter. Happy 18th birthday to Thomas Byrne. And while we're talking about high school seniors, congratulations to the entire class of 2024. Best of luck. It sees your future.
Today was their last day. Then now we wish all good luck to those for testing, because that's other than the seniors, that's what all the other ones have. They have their regents and their finals and all that other stuff. And what I always do at this meeting every year in June is I remind everybody that the town camp opens on July 1st. If you're heading over towards Reese Park, assuming it's not raining, give yourself a little extra time, because usually the first couple of days there's a little bit of traffic buildup. So just give yourself a little bit more time if you're going by Reese Park around 8:30, 9 o'clock time frame.
Yeah, it's a big month. not only for the seniors, but for all the schools that are having graduating classes. And so it'll be busy.
Graduation
Right.
day is this Monday,
Drive safely.
24th.
Hmm.
Rich, anything?
No, thank you.
Whoa.
What's next Monday?
Tony, you said anything? I don't have anything else. Patty, fun fact.
Yeah. This is why we come.
Why we wait?
That's how.
Okay, well, my fun fact for today is the CIA has its own Starbucks. But the baristas do not write names on cups.
Ah,
Security reasons.
But up till now, it was a secret.
Do they write aliases on cups?
The only state capital without a McDonald's is Montpelier, Vermont.
No.
oh.
Not go.
And as Rob said, we tragically lost Officer Tom Dunn today. I had the pleasure of working with Tom and we had a lot of fun when the election machines were impounded. He brought my movers down the sawmill because they were like, he's like, you want to go down the sawmill? He's like, let's go. So the moving trucks, me and Tom Dunn went flying down the sawmill. Anyway, Tom was a special person to me and always was here the day after election day when he was most needed. But when looking for something for June 13th, I didn't have anything great, this day in history. But then I looked up when Tom was hired. And I'm all about if it's not today, it doesn't count. But in this case, Tom Dunn was hired on June 14th of 2001.
Oh, wow.
So,
20 years. So.
yeah,
He's a nice guy.
he was.
Yeah, tomorrow is my wife's birthday. Not true.
Oh, geez, that reminded you?
That's why they put out the flags.
Yeah.
Didn't you know that? That's what her mother told her when she was growing up. We're putting out flags for you, Paul.
Well, happy birthday to her.
Yes, happy birthday. What are you planning?
Happy birthday. She wants to go to the zoo.
Okay. Is she going
So
to
does
the
the
zoo?
bird Here.
Is she going to the zoo?
She wants to. We're going.
Have a good time at the zoo.
Have a good time.
Hello to your relative.
Well, on that note, I'd like to make the motion to adjourn tonight's meeting.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?